Hey guys, welcome back. This is day 7.
Hello,
Today,
hello.
today we're gonna try and push to testnet. Uh, since yesterday, I've actually gone and naughtily update the front end a bit. Uh, clean, did some cleanup. Yeah, is there a question?
No questions from me.
Cool, cool.
No, it was just a message notification.
Okay, cool. Um, so proof pass, sovereign identity. I've narrowed it down to the issue page where you upload your ID or passport. Then we attempt to scan your details and store your details on the chain. And then there's a verify page where we can enter your wallet, or you can connect and it will use your wallet address to then do the check. So just to demonstrate, of using our trusty Mary Jane as an example. What's that? 1964, 117. Okay, so it matched the name. Over 18 is true. Confirmed. And now we're going to get that signed and stored. Here's our transaction hash. Then on the verify page, it will detect your address that you've just used, and you can confirm. That's that, basically. Yeah, so the next step is, how do we get this on the testnet so that we can see it for real in action? Have any of you deployed to testnet before?
Nope.
Not Polygon though.
Yeah, no, me neither. So let's
We learn together.
yeah, let's do it. So I've gathered some details, testnet credentials. That's a testnet account that I've got, and then that's the private key. It's only testnet, so I don't mind having this out there. It's not going to hurt. Please deploy.
Oh, do you need any tokens, by the way?
I do have.
Okay, cool.
I did check before. There should be.
I got
Oh,
100, so I'm flush.
100 testnet Polygon. It always gets me connecting to the testnet. But let's deploy contract 2. Okay, to testnet. Use the controls add. Okay. So this is going to figure out what to do. I'm sure it will work. It's been clever before. It actually helped me to get a proper OCR extraction process so that we can actually use these barcodes. Let's what is this one? wonder if this is going to work.
Drum roll.
Let's see. It might be too fuzzy. Let's see. Oh, no. Just that. Select image. Let's use this guy's one. Yeah. Imagine that. It's got the name. That's correct. It's got the date of birth as well. So if I go back, ready to store. Why is it not ready to store? Oh, that's interesting. Match set mismatch. Oh, I didn't get the ID number. Document number. Even though it is correct. Extracted. Oh, wait a minute. I'm surprised I forgot my own birth date. There we go. Oh, okay, so that works. Okay, cool. We can do another one. Cool. So now it can handle the MRZ extraction as well as that barcode extraction, which is quite an upgrade from yesterday. Let's have a look at.
Oh, do you just want to hide the Google Meet thingy? Thanks.
I tried that last time and it killed the session. It killed the screen share. Let's see.
Your forte is smart contracts.
Let's see. I'm checking Foundry. Oh, so it's going through that. I used Gemini a while back with Hard Hat, and it just sliced through it like a hot knife through butter. It was testing contracts and deploying by itself, which is nice. It's almost like chatting to a teammate to tell them to deploy the contracts. The other thing we need to figure out is once it's deployed, we're going to have to put the OCR API somewhere, as well as the front end. So for this, I'm going to use Railway. It's a nice way to deploy small projects. They can help you with front end and database and all that. But for this, I'll also use Codex to just deploy to Railway. Oh, yes. It sees the funds, so it should work. I'm not quite sure how much it's going to use, but it shouldn't be too much.
And then, like, how would you really set up like a? Would you set up some sort of master wallet to deal with all of these checks in case the user has no funds, or is it just like how would you do that delegation?
Mm, well, the user would just write once, and if you want to transact with it, it shouldn't cost you too much to do that attestation. And then the reading on it is just a view. It's a view call on the contract, so that shouldn't cost anything because you're just reading. Script registry. Cover signer. Terms. Just type. CC here. Submit. External. Oh. One thing though is I would test this a lot more. Should it be for an actual project? For a hackathon, it's okay to check lightly, but going to real production, we need to test a lot more. So there I would have a master wallet with some funds to test around. Let's see, we're still simulating. So while that is going, let's deploy this API.
So what's Railway?
Railway is a hosting service provider similar to Vercel or Run. I think there's a Run dot something, a Run .sh. It's a what's the right word for it? It's a hosting service provider. It's
Kind of
almost
like
it's like a like a digital ocean.
yeah. So they're basically just a SaaS something solution to host without hosting. So they basically provide all the services and functionality of having a server, a website, using WordPress or Wix or whatever, but they do it for free and they don't charge you any money. But now I'm curious because like most of these don't have any domains and everything. And I come from the world of buy a domain, set it up, run it, see what happens. Is that like not the culture of like hackathons and setting up stuff where it's just deploy as long as you have a unique enough name, dot railway, whatever? Is that the culture, or is there more of a let's build this and actually grow it into something more, or is it just see what happens at the hackathon?
In most cases, you have slideshows at a hackathon, or you've got local running apps on local host that they demo. Some of them actually have mostly Vercel deploys. So it's some Nest app in Vercel. And then you get the outliers that use more complicated hosting solutions. So it's actually team based. It's not really expected to be a live app at the end of the hackathon. That's not the key. The whole point of the hackathon is to build a solution and present that solution to the judges.
Fair enough. And does it need to be accessible by the judges in terms of like you have to have a Git? You said that a lot of projects basically just have a locally hosted version of this. So, but do you get like extra points for actually deploying it? Are they actually testing your overall skill with tech, or a limited skill within coding only, not your DevOps and your understanding of other things?
They're more into the actual solution that you provide, but they do require that you have something in Git, so some code that they can check out in Git. But when it comes to the actual judging process, I don't think they go through the code at the venue. But then this is now dependent on what kind of hackathon it is.
Yeah,
You know,
in general, they're
is
probably just looking to build out
able-
their idea or their concept, right? They don't really care
Yeah.
about the back end as much as, idea generation.
No, it's a bit of both, because obviously if your prize pool is, let's say, like $1,000, $10,000, then
Yeah.
it'll be more stressed.
Yeah.
But if your prize pool is $1 million, and you're literally giving like 250K, 100K, 150K to projects that are doing really
Yeah.
well, then yeah, it's a bit steeper. In terms of, well, I don't know, Vickers, you got better ideas there?
Yeah, no, if there's real money involved, then you better have a code repo and architecture documentation and diagrams and explanations and proof of work and all of that stuff. And then that's also there's also a stipulation that you have to create all of this in the time of the hackathon. You can plan beforehand, but the actual work needs to be done in that time frame.
Fair enough. But I think with a lot of them, they're kind of fast and loose with that rule. So I was chatting to someone who applied for grants to a specific, what was it? A development grant type thing. And he basically, he placed quite high. Out of 2,000 people, he was in like the top 50. But essentially there was like 1-year-old apps and like a whole bunch of other weird stuff like that. So I think it's, to a certain extent, sometimes it is about that longevity of the project, the Lindsay effect, and like how well they're actually doing. So there's a little bit of bias, I think. I don't know. But do you think, in your opinion, though, looking at the landscape and the hackathons that we're hosting, do you think it's more of they want to see something new every time? They don't want to see you building different stuff, building the same thing with new features? Like, how many same projects have you seen, or is everyone just building something new every time?
Well, I'm not totally guilty of doing that. I've tried to actually take a project and then repurpose the idea, but not the code. They don't mind if you expand on a previous project, but then all the code needs to be done within that time frame.
Yeah.
But again, it's based on the whole structure of the hackathon. Is it where they want you to use certain technologies? Then it would be a new build, or it could be an existing project using those technologies if you have. But then your main feature that you build must be done in the time frame.
Fair enough.
Otherwise, it's just a general, like this Web3 Node hackathon in January was just a general blockchain hackathon. So anything blockchain. And any network, anything goes. And the whole idea was they had certain categories. So it's something in AI, something in gaming, something in payments. So you have to pull in those categories. One or more of those categories.
Like you won something at that one, right?
Yes. What was it? $500, I think.
Okay, nice.
Yeah.
No, but was there a specific category, or did they divide them across the different categories?
Um,
Just curious.
the category that I won in was the AI category. I think it was AI.
Okay, cool. Nice.
I built a project Probo. Probo is a like a address safety checker.
Okay, fair enough.
So
Does it actually check if the wallet's ever been used before?
yeah. It
Okay.
goes through to check the history of the wallet, and then to determine whether it's one of those what do they call it? Those
Sanctioned countries.
no, it's those. Oh, there's a word for it. Spreader, slicer. I can't remember the name, but it's one that just shreds tokens that comes in, so that you can't trace it properly. So it's like a scammer address. So it goes through to see if that address that you're interacting with or going to interact with, has it ever touched one of those?
Sorry, we lost you there. You still there?
Hello?
Hey, I'm here.
I hear you.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so it goes through the history and then tries to determine whether it's a good address or a bad address. But then on that, there's also explanation for why it says that. So it's got some proof to it. And then I've also translated that explanation into Portuguese and French. And
That's
then
pretty cool.
I built a dashboard behind it so that you can see the details of that address and the last 3 months of transactions. So
That's pretty cool.
so it's almost like three products in one. There's the simple input box that's got the analysis of the address, and then there's the explanation part, and then there's the detailed analysis.
Okay, cool. So did you guys hear about the there was a guy that did a $10 test transaction. Someone mirrored the test transaction, like same sort of details, going to his wallet, and then that person copied the transaction off the blockchain. So literally matched instead of using the same address that he used for the test, he used the other person's address because he wanted to check that it reflected on the blockchain. And he literally sent that guy, like, or person, entity, group, whatever, $50 million. I think it was last year, end of last year or beginning of this year.
Ew.
Like, yeah, your tool would have been handy there, like really handy considering.
Yeah. And then that is what I've wanting to build for myself and that's analysis tool. But then you've got those other companies that do it for corporates and banks and governments and so forth. And there's big corporate contracts involved, and also big data, massive data. But the main reason why I was looking into it was because I tried to send myself some Ethereum and it just disappeared. And I thought I must find out where it went. So that spurred the whole mission into trying to figure that out.
Happened to me before. It's always, I don't know, it's always kind of weird. Sometimes I could see the transaction on the blockchain, but then the money has not landed in my wallet. So, in those cases, and I would use the correct network. So in those cases, I would sometimes investigate if it's not the vendor, for example.
So you're talking about what, like it going to exchanges or going to wallets, personal wallets?
It was going to another exchange.
Yeah, those guys are notorious for waiting certain confirmations. And sometimes they don't even show you the funds are there. And that's the nerve-wracking part, because like with some exchanges will tell you, okay, you got to wait 40 minutes for your Doge transaction because then we will do stuff. Sorry, I love sending Doge.
Exactly.
It's just super cheap. But in terms of like others, they just leave you hanging. And it's like, wait, what's going on? Did I lose all my money? And then only once it's confirmed, do they allow you to start spending. But generally, it's what I've seen is the worst is 2 transactions. So generally, like within like 5 minutes or 10 minutes, like worst case, it's available. But was that not your case?
No, I think in this particular case, what I found out is I was using a new product, and in the vendor's UI, they hadn't activated the tokens for this new product. So it landed, the exchange saw the funds coming in, but they had not placed the correct, the tokens were in the funds had landed, it was the right tokens, but the UI hadn't activated the token usage. It was kind of
Okay,
weird.
fair enough.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that's also one of the crazy things with Fireblocks and how that works and how they have these virtual wallets and yeah, crazy stuff.
Exactly.
Mike, were you trying to say something? You were just a bit far away there.
Good. Actually, I guess I was just going to talk about finality a little bit because I mean, technically, right? Just because something's settled, I understand that it's actually not settled until 2 or 3 transactions go by. You know, and if you look at the wait times, you know what I mean, of like 2 transactions, you know what I mean, as opposed to like what 3 to 5 business days. You know what I mean? It's not even comparable. But yeah, I don't. You guys can tell me better, I'm sure. But has there ever been a situation where something was finalized and then got reversed, as far as you know, on the blockchain, specifically Bitcoin?
Apart from hacks, no. So generally, like it's only the dodgy ones where people are doing crazy stuff and then they roll back.
Right.
So you've got the DAO one with Ethereum Classic.
Yeah.
You've got like there's a host of them. You know,
Yep.
there really is like quite a few. For example, with Stellar, they can kind of freeze your account because you've got KYC on your wallet. So if they don't like you, they just turn it off. There's a whole bunch of there's a lot of functionality around a lot of coins that can do that. I think there was if I'm not mistaken, it was Bybit that actually wrote something like that, where I think it's like 21 chains can technically do that to you.
Right. Yeah, I
But
heard
it
about
was
that actually.
yeah, and then but there was a couple of them. I think the total number was 21 that could do it, but only 17 live right now can do it. But the other 21, the other 5 or whatever, or 4, are basically they have the functionality to do it, but they haven't enacted that functionality.
Yeah, I think we're going to see more of that going forward. You know, and it's a double-edged sword. You know what I mean? Censorship is, you know,
Yeah, but that's the whole. But
of
I don't know.
course,
It's just,
I understand. I'm in
so it's
that
the
camp, by
crazy
the way.
thing. Yeah, so it's the crazy thing with Bitcoin and why Bitcoin is the layer that solves all of our problems. But at the same time, like if we get to a point where with the current international situations that we have, and we reach a point where certain countries in the world can't use the Swift banking network,
Yeah,
then we would see some very interesting things because people could use crypto. The only problem is there is kind of a setup there around how they could be like, well, we just apply some political pressure to your organization locally in America or in Europe or wherever, and we force you to now not allow transactions to take place. But the only thing left after something like that is you got no Swift, you got no stable coins, you've got Bitcoin, but the bigger problem is that like which countries will allow that to still be used as legal tender, because we still like literally how long later, and like 16 years 17 years. I don't know, my maths is bad. But we still don't actually have the ability to use Bitcoin to do a lot of things. While we can do some sort of peer-to-peer something, the stores aren't accepting it. And essentially, if your Visa or if your Swift network goes down, and you can still rely on local banking, kind of, but like everything dies. You know what I mean? If we say no to Swift, it's like that's the whole settlement layer there. So it would only really be cash, and then we'd have to figure out how do we use how do we integrate like BTC into that. And that's actually one of the more interesting things that I was chatting to the Maxis about, is like how it is the only solution that we have, and all other maybe Monero. Maybe there's a few other projects where they are stealth enough and resilient enough not to deal with the political pressures, but it's a political question. You got a forward-facing organization, like, you know what I mean. You bow to the pressures, or you go to jail. And yeah, there's lots of people that have gone to jail. So yeah, no one wants to do that.
Can I ask your take on something? If you are a Circle or a Kraken and you're starting to integrate with these traditional financial infrastructures, are you moving away from the original ethos of BTC and the likes?
No and yes. So essentially, you can't. So basically, it's you. I don't know. Does someone else want to answer while I think about how I want to phrase myself?
No, it's tough. I think there's the principle. So the way I think about it, there's the principle of why everybody got into some form of crypto, but the innovation that's being done by Kraken and Circle also allows us to play in the space a bit longer, right? So it's legitimizing it whilst actually taking away from it. I sit on the fence on this topic. That's why I was asking.
So I don't know. It depends. What are we talking about? Are we talking about like sanction individuals and should they be stopped, or are we talking about like, you know what I mean? Like, what's the yeah? So I
I'll
think
play
in
devil's
terms of
advocate.
so yeah.
I'll play devil's advocate. I think one of the biggest reservations, preventing adoption right now is that people know that their transactions are irreversible, right? And there's a lot of stress around that. They want a third party intermediary, right? They want somebody to be able to go in and correct things. You know what I mean? They don't want to have, complete finality.
But cash is irreversible
Yeah, I agree.
to a certain extent
But cash literally comes out of your hand.
because
You know
there
what
are
I mean?
reasons why you would. Oh, sorry, I didn't hear you there, Mike.
Yeah, well, cash literally comes out of your hand. You're not actually accidentally going to pay somebody. You know what I mean? Unlike a fat fingered, extra zero or whatnot.
But I think so. So my real answer is that is the new financial adoption and financial solution supposed to be a peer-to-peer digital cash solution? So yes, they're 100% solving that problem, and they're empowering more people. They're giving access to more people. So on that side, Paul, yeah, 100% agree that they are following in the footsteps in the correct direction. But then in terms of actually having the ability to sanction individuals, I think no, they're not.
Got you. No, that makes sense. That's a good
But
take.
also the question is, do we want people sanctioned? And the question is like, no, you don't want you to be sanctioned. But if we're talking about, there's a certain class of person we can say is reprehensible, and we would not want them to benefit from society. And so if they're sanctioned, it's kind of okay. So it's that quid pro quo. You can't have a super secure. You can't have a system where people can do whatever they want.
So
Yeah,
that,
I don't know.
that
It's
gets
complicated.
that certain class. We all know who that certain class is. It starts with a P, right? But the thing is, they use the minority. You know what I mean, to persecute the majority. If we look at the RICO laws back in the '80s, they were derived to come up with a way to crack down on organized crime. Who do they actually use those laws against? Anybody but organized crime. Usually, those that couldn't defend themselves. You know what I mean? So they pass these laws along with the best of intentions. You know what I mean? But the reality is always, quite the opposite.
No, well, I think it's more about, we have certain laws for a reason, and people that there are people that should be kicked out of society. You know what I mean? And I'm not saying that it's the people that you're thinking of, Mike, but like in
Mhm.
terms of there is a whole lot of reprehensible things that happened. It could be
Absolutely. The
providing.
question,
Yeah.
the question becomes though is according to who?
Exactly.
You know
But there is a universal standard, but according to whose accusation, according to what
and
proof, according to,
then
you
that
know?
whole system gets politicized. You know what I mean? So the reality is never actually. You know what I mean? Like honestly,
Yeah.
look at Swift. Look at Swift. Right? You know they kicked Rush out. You know, and they're not allowed playing more reindeer games now. You know what I mean? You know, so
Mhm.
they essentially weaponized the U.S. dollar. That's going to be the end of their regime. You know what I mean? Like you can only do that for so long. So I don't think there should be any
I
censorship
mean,
whatsoever.
Brazil and India managed to create their own payment systems. I think obviously the hard bit is being able to settle.
Interoperability.
Yeah, exactly. That's the
We've
biggest
got
one.
like they have the unit. I don't know how far we are in the unit at this point, where it's like a gold backed basket amongst the BRICS nations, and then it's the gold backed and currency backed.
That's right. That's right.
So, but yeah, but it'll be interesting to see how they come up with a solution with all of that, because there's a lot more pieces than just, you know, we've got some gold and we've got some this, because you don't really escape the hegemony by just saying we've got some gold. How are you moving this gold? How are you actually swapping the value or swapping the currency? So
Custody is a problem.
sorry, Riza, I can't hear you there.
I'd say custody is a problem because
Yeah.
some central trusted third party is going to have to hold that gold. So how do you choose who holds it?
Exactly.
Yeah,
But this
I
is
forget which one it was, but one of the major banks got caught holding storage fees on gold that didn't exist.
fair enough.
Sounds like a bank.
Yeah, it sounds like a bank. Well, if they can make
Yeah,
up
but
money,
you
why not make
about
up gold?
Bitcoin.
So
You were talking about Bitcoin just now. Sorry, Mukhtar. The only way to stay anonymous on the Bitcoin network now, if I understand correctly, is by running a node.
no, so there's hops. So technically you could mine, you could do a whole bunch of things, but once you like Bitcoin, this is the crazy thing. Like crypto, like all of crypto is basically a trackable digital money. There's no anonymity in terms of crypto. You can figure out who someone is based on the hops that are
If you
happening. There
off-ramp,
will be not. It's not even the
if
off
you
ramps.
off-ramp,
No, it's not the off ramps. It's when you spend. So it doesn't matter who. If you're dealing with someone in black markets, or if you're dealing with someone with a local store, or if you're doing something really anywhere, your transactions can, like, within 8 hops currently is what the standard is for like investigations. But if you've got like someone with more resources than that, and they really want to figure out who these people are that are associated with this really bad person, they'll figure out who you are. And if they decide that, and if you had to decide that you wanted to put enough effort in, and if we're putting enough effort to collecting every single person's on the planet's emails and all their text messages and all their WhatsApps and all these other things, because all devices are hacked, gone. You know what I mean? There is collection happening. Like, you know what I mean? We know this for a fact. Like, collection is happening. So what makes us think that the same level of collection isn't happening on blockchain? I don't know. That's just my
there's a lot
thing.
more data, of course, yes, but there's a lot more unmatched data. So unless there's KYC in place, you can't really get the identity of a wallet.
You
That doesn't
can't get the identity, but you can extrapolate who they are and where they live or who they're interacting with from that information. A
In
wallet on
theory,
its own that never
not
spends.
completely though. You know,
You
because if
think
you
so?
think about it,
Unless you're looking at if you're using VPN, or unless you're looking at device location and so forth,
there's
transactions.
ATM wallets too. You know, there's coin machines. You know what I mean?
Yes, but those link to real world. They link to a geographic location. There's
But
Yeah, but a
CCTV in
location's
that
not
store.
an identity.
Yes,
There's
off-ramp.
CCTV in that store. You know, if you really want to think about like all these things and how to track people down, like there is nowhere to hide with crypto. It's basically, you could mine it, Yes. Okay. So mining is maybe the only way that you can get crypto. But once you spend it, it's literally everyone is going from one hop to the next hop, and you can extrapolate how many, like I'm building a project to do this, but not this. I want to figure out where the money is going in terms of stablecoin and African adoption, and how the money is moving from one country to the next country. And you could use exchanges, you could use remittance apps, you can use wallets, you can use certain things that are geographically distinct to that region to figure out what's going on in that region or country. So there's a lot that you can figure out from there. Beyond that layer, it's just like super evil tech, in my opinion, where you want to figure out who the exact person is. But there are people doing that. There are companies actively doing that. There's South African companies working currently with SARS, with the Reserve, not the Reserve Bank, but with SARS. Reserve Bank has access. There is chain analysis. There's like big boys that are actually doing this professionally, and there are people that are just interested in the data because OSINT, like operational security intelligence something, like basically that exists, and all the tools to learn all of this and literally take a photo of someone. Like literally there's people that you can show them a photo and they can figure, they can get your passport number in like 30 minutes. You know what I mean? And they do it for the lulz. So, you know what I mean? An address, like, yeah, there is some layer of difficulty, but.
So who's working
the
on?
wallet's got to be doxed in that case. It's got to be a known wallet. It can't be an anonymous wallet.
So there is, yeah, I agree with you.
Trace back and forth until you find a known wallet, and that becomes a bit of a problem from a point of view of pure traffic.
But that's the thing, you can't spend.
Flowing.
The second you spend or the second you receive, they can start figuring out where you fit into this map, and they just map you.
Yeah.
And then they just watch enough transactions and then they triangulate you.
100 million people.
With a big server.
Honestly, that would have seemed impossible just 5 years ago, but now with AI.
Because I mean, if you consider what blockchains are built for, they're built for speed, they're built for quantity, and they're built for AI agents, essentially.
Oh,
How,
just takes
how
time.
do you track? How do you track all of this?
Just to add to the point, these blockchain analytics companies, they're able to map who your wallet interacted with. And so they can go on forever, like, okay, you sent money to this wallet, to that wallet sent it to this wallet. And essentially they're able to corner off wallets that are either blacklisted or that come from sanctioned countries.
Yes,
so essentially they can track who you interacted with. And that helps with the mapping process.
But I agree with you, known wallets, but the whole point of having this thing is to spend it. So if you're not spending it, yes, you'll never be found out. But
if you're spending in the crypto ecosystem, so if you're spending and investing and moving money only in the ecosystem, it's going to be very, very difficult.
No, then it becomes a lot harder.
Without an off-ramp, it's going to be very, very difficult. That's why
but I say if there's enough scraped data, they can figure out stuff. I'm not saying it's more. This is more of a fringe conspiracy like than actual reality.
Right.
But you can like track if you have enough information on enough databases or you're in enough servers. You can see who's looking at what traffic. And if we accept that most servers are hacked and the hackers aren't actually saying what they're doing, they're in these servers for 180 days before anyone ever figures out that they're even there. Like, what does that tell you about the amount of information that's leaking out if someone actually wanted to figure this out? And people have unlimited budgets to actually do this. There are entities that just are unlimited. But I agree with you that if you're only within the ecosystem and you're never purchasing something, it can become a little bit harder. But each of those transactions is a signal and an identity flag around you. Are you posting on Twitter around these projects? Are you posting on WhatsApp about the projects that you're interested in? Who are you communicating and talking to? Are you mentioning these amounts to anyone?
Very difficult to tie up if there are no flows that can be linked to you.
Yeah, but you'd have to stop talking to anyone. You'd have to stop using tech. Like this is the, you know what I mean? There's ways to extrapolate all this information that you're putting out online. So you basically are communicating, like everything you put on social media, everything you do on your phone, all your emails, all that data, right, basically is a fingerprint of you. And now to basically take all of that information and give it to a large model that has a lot of time on its hands to figure out stuff and associate whose wallet is whom's, not that far-fetched. We've got the tech.
We do have the tech. I don't know if we have the integrations yet, because I mean,
I think,
only now
yeah.
getting to a point where cross-chain interoperability protocols are being
Atomic swaps are
developed.
like 10 years old, man. Like atomic swaps are like ancient.
I would like to say that.
So what's the flip side? So argue the other side of that coin for me, right? What needs to happen so that we can protect our identity? For most of us, this doesn't really matter, to be honest. You know what I mean? But it's just kind of interesting. But
so anything that you do, like if you just assume that you're already hacked and everything that you do is already going to get out and you behave that way, you're fine. If you don't assume that, then you're toast. If you assume that you have any sort of freedom or any sort of like hiddenness, then yeah, stuff's gonna happen to you. But if you assume that everything you say, everything that you think about, like you don't watch what you can think, but don't say, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. So how about things like Tornado and what else is there? These mixers. I mean, what exactly are they doing?
Yeah, but a mixer would work. But it depends how they get compromised after. How are they storing that information? What wasn't there a whole bunch of them that went down and then took down all their customers in the past?
I'm not
Like
sure.
I remember a whole bunch of them getting raided by like
they've been
alphabet
charged
scoops.
and arrested, but I don't know if that got out. You know what I mean? And actually, I think that was a threat. Give us the names or else.
Tornado Cash was in an SEC battle, wasn't it?
Yeah, so
And
they retried.
that fell away.
Yeah, they're
Monero
retrying the guy. Oh,
was
sorry.
also something
Yeah,
that
they went
was,
after all of them. Roman Storm.
Yeah, they were also in this
Tornado
whole prosecution type approach to crypto back when Gensler was at the SEC.
Yeah.
But now it's more level playing fields, and I'm a strong believer that these are just tools. These tools are not designed specifically to commit crime or anything of the sort. They tools. How we use them, well, that's the story. Same
Fair
with
enough.
Bitcoin. Yeah, same with Bitcoin. I mean, it was never crime money. It was designed to be money. Whether
Yeah.
the criminals used it just like people like you and me, means it's a tool. You know, it's misjudged, misunderstood.
Yeah. So I think fair. Like I don't think that everyone that uses crypto is a criminal. But if you look at like what they do around darknet markets and how government agencies take them over, and then collect all the user data, and I can't remember the exact story around this, but they basically like shut down like 3 of them because these guys basically they go around stealing each other's they basically hack each other and they steal each other's platforms and do a whole bunch of crazy stuff with their users. But you also have instances where government agencies get involved and take over these mixers or take over, like, what was the cell phone thing? There was a government, they released these super secret phones that basically had a calculator app, and you click on the calculator and then you get inside the secret messaging system. And there was a whole bunch of them. And eventually it ended up that like the FBI was running one of those. Like not in America, but like running it and literally collecting all the data on all the criminals doing their stuff. And they think they're in the super secure layer. And they were charging them like $2,000 a phone, $10,000 a phone, whatever. And then for the premium satellite service and all this other crazy stuff. And the same works essentially how you look at like these mixers, because they have access to your data. They know where you're coming from. Even if you look at Tor, like if you have like, I think it's 3 points on the node or 3 points on the Tor network, you can like track someone where they are. Like if you look at VPNs, yes, but you can get the logs from the VPNs. There's very few VPNs that are actually bulletproof. Not a lot of people will go to jail, like the, what is it, the lava guy? I'm not sure if you guys heard the story of Laravel, something like that. Like he actually went to jail. He was like, "No, I'm not going to give you my keys," or something, got detained. But there's all these things that actually just make it really hard for you to know whether it's real or not real, or who are you actually talking to. Is it a dog on the internet? Like, are you talking to a dog on the internet? Like, you don't know. Like, we've just reached a point of crazy security. I don't know. But yeah, sorry, Reza, you were saying something. Like, I don't know. I don't think there's criminals, really. Like, I don't think that
No, I'm just-
crypto is for
I mean,
criminals, essentially. You know what I mean?
yeah, I work with a couple of projects, and I can tell you that there's these fundamental metrics that you need to look at when assessing a project, not only to see whether it's going to be successful or not, or also to see what the possibility is that it is a scam. And there's some basic metrics that you need to do, and in some DYOR type of thing that you need to conduct on these things, and not just follow a trend because somebody's doing it and because it's been doing well. I'd like to be part of it, because that's pure speculation.
Fair enough. I think community is one of the hardest ones to figure out, because that is really a good metric for what's going to work. And then you end up with something like dad blocks or something else where it's just pure scam. And they had community. So
Yeah. Now, if you have, for any project that has community and still fails, that for me is a big problem.
yeah, but they don't release code. Like, this is the thing. Like, it's basically code review, audits. There's a whole, I think there's like 6 of them in that whole like do your own research kind of solution. And yeah, you have to be willing to lose money, not make money. You have to be willing to keep your money and not make money to actually do some of that. So
yeah, I guess it's not about the because I mean, a lot of the hype in this industry is about tokens and their values, and turning 1,000% and 10,000 times and so forth. There's a lot of hype, but in order to figure out which projects are really changing the game, you've got to be able to position them in this ecosystem. You've got to be able to position them, and the very first question that you've got to ask yourself with any project is, what problem does this solve? Where does the problem lie, and how does this project, this app, whatever you're creating, how does it solve? How does it make it easier? Because it's all about reducing friction, right? Because at the moment, there's a lot of friction in this environment, a lot of disintegration. So
just 1 second. Vickers, do you need some poll?
I'm gonna check now, because I created the contract with my account. Now it's doing funny stuff now, which is always part of a hackathon, when it does funny stuff. Let me just try again, because I've got the app deployed. It's running in production. Production in inverted quotes. So it's actually deployed to Railway. So we've got the API deployed and we've got the front end deployed. And now I'm just checking the front end, make sure that everything's working. And once that's done, we've got something to demo for judges tomorrow.
Nice.
Completed. Oh, there we go. Nice. Okay. And something flops. Nice. Okay. I think I'll take a look at that offline. I'm not quite sure. Maybe it's just a parameter thing. But yeah, no, I think we did well. We managed to get to production, and we just have a little bug here. Yeah, contract is deployed. It's over here on the testnet. It's on this What can we look at? Transaction hash. There we go. Contract creation. And here's some bytecode if you really want to check it out. Reverse engineer the master contract.
Nice.
Yeah, and it was pretty easy. We just told Codex to figure it out, and it deployed it.
How do you find Codex in terms of reliability? Sorry, Riza.
It's good.
I mean, so
Although,
just like smart contract logic, it actually deploying contracts that are actually viable and not needing like 5 days to decode and figure out and fix.
it's good. But with anything, you need to write your tests around it, and you can also ask Codex to create the tests as well. But it does help to actually have an idea of what you want to check. And then just run it. But I would run it through multiple agents. I would even go as far as to maybe potentially get more than one AI to run through it, because they trained on different corpuses of knowledge.
Cool. Yeah, fair.
You can also give it documentation. You can give it example code.
Good contracts, yeah.
Yeah, you can point it to Open Zeppelin's contracts, and it can compare it with that.
So what's Open Zeppelin?
Open Zeppelin is it's a Open Zeppelin. I think that's Open Zeppelin. So they have a whole bunch of base contracts that's been vetted and checked over and over again that you can use as a base for your contract. So you can extend a base coin token from it. You can extend a NFT token from it. Just trying to get the... So they've got clean contracts that you can use to develop.
So audited contracts, or what do you mean by clean?
Yeah, it's audited, it's checked, it's cross-checked and everything. So you can base your contract off of their contracts, so that you are covered with re-entrancy attacks and all of that stuff. Smart contracts. So they've got the base contracts that you can extend, so that you don't have to go and research what is in a ERC20 token, because there's other stuff in the ERC20 token, different functions that you would need to have. Otherwise, you would have to create.
So they provide the framework essentially.
Yeah, it's a framework for smart contracts. And it's audited to the high heavens with different companies checking them out.
So did you actually pull something from here to build your smart contracts, or you just let it build and it built it anyway?
I let it build. This one I let it build. But you can tell it to base off of one of the Open Zeppelin contracts. I actually, for my first hackathon, I was experimenting creating a ticketing system. So it's basically a NFT system, and I was coding my own NFT standard. Meanwhile, there was an NFT standard in Open Zeppelin that I could have just used instead of doing it by hand. So it was quite a long journey to figure out, oh wait, there's a shortcut.
Fair enough. But you learned it. So I don't know.
Yeah, no, for sure. I struggled a lot, but it did work.
But I think that's the thing about banging your head against the wall when it comes to learning, is sometimes it takes a while to figure out where the shortcuts are. But while you're getting there, all these long cuts basically just make you give you such a better understanding of what's actually going on, so you can actually take the next shortcut.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, that's the analogy for going on a hike. You know, it's painful, but it strengthens your legs so that you can carry on the next day.
Fair enough. Cool. So is it working now, or did it fix itself?
Good. I did fix something, but I don't have token.
You want tokens? How many tokens you want? I got 100.
Just some.
What's drop your address and then I'll send you some.
Polygon. Where's I suppose it's the same. Let's drop it here. Please send all your crypto to this address, and
It's a test net, like lol. Okay, wait.
Please,
Send what?
please,
How much did I say?
please.
How much do you want?
5,
5, 10, 5?
5 is fine. Yeah,
5. Okay, cool.
5 is fine.
I like how it says it's like less than 1 cent. You know what I mean? Because yeah, I can't imagine that there was people back in the day that used to accept testnet as real money. But if you don't know any better, you don't know any better, dude. It's
No, for sure.
cool. It's sent. It's pretty quick, actually. It's like, how fast is Paul? Like a minute.
Okay, 5. Okay, cool. Let's I'm trying this rerun another
2 to 5 seconds, dude. That's insane.
Oh, rejected. Okay, let's have a look. Okay, confirm.
Did you give me the wrong address?
What is this now? Maybe it didn't take any. No. Colleague error, transaction gas price. Okay, now this is now real, so now we're going back. It's probably in the call that has to set some of those parameters. Because the testnet, you don't have that problem with testnet. When you do testnet calls.
Hey, Sinisipo. How are you doing?
Hi, how are you doing?
Good, good.
It's a good session.
Yeah.
I
Now we're
see
just fighting it to be ready for tomorrow.
Oh. And then we're gonna get one of you guys to present it to a judge, if we can get a judge.
Okay, cool. I'll be ready. This is deployed. I just have to share screen, so it'll be fine.
No, it's deployed. It's over. It's actually live. It's actually a live app. Imagine that. We started off with. Okay, well, the first day was
I
just.
can't see what you're
overall.
presenting. It just says you're presenting.
Oh, I sent you the URL to the
Oh,
live.
okay.
No, I'm just thinking back that we started off with chatting about hackathons, and then we started with, after that, picking a problem or a project, and then yeah, we just
Did we
started.
only integrate MetaMask and not the Polygon wallet? Okay, so now I need to set up on this browser. But yeah, I'll be ready to present.
We can.
No, the Polygon one is fine because the Polygon one is just, it's a website that I go to and it has my balance in it. It's wallet.polygon technology, but doesn't matter. I can just connect it.
Just checking this one. Is it still building front end?
2, 3.
Close successful. Reload. I'll also send you Mary Jane.
Yes, please. Is Mary Jane the only one that works, or do we have other samples?
You can try other samples.
I'll test them out tomorrow.
You just need a nice photo of a barcode so it can extract it.
Fair enough.
I did try mine and it does extract. I just have a very long name to type in.
Fair enough. At least it's only testnet.
Oh hey, what's this? What is this?
It stored it. Are you done?
What's that? What is this? What is this? Wait, let's transaction. Huh. Look at that. Here we go.
Nice.
There's
Impressive.
something. Logs. What is it? Oh, there's some stuff. Some crypto stuff.
Fair enough.
I'm assuming that's the Boolean.
Mm.
So then we go to verify, and then boom, there you go.
Nice.
So
But now is this your wallet? Are you now Mary Jane on your wallet?
this is not me. This is not Mary Jane on my address, but there's an expiry date. It expires in an hour. So there's an expiry on it.
So how do you set it? Oh, we're not doing that. It's fine. Let's just keep it for an hour.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
that's fine. It does actually work. I was checking yesterday, and an hour afterwards, then it goes expired, so that it's not valid anymore.
Okay. That's pretty cool. Because obviously you need the solution to be invalidatable, or else you'd have people using your identity in the real world after.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Okay, cool. Well, there you
Very
go.
cool. I'm gonna kill the session now. Is that cool with you?
Yeah, cool.
Like, dude, like this is awesome. I can't believe we built everything. A bit 15 minutes over, but we got it. We got it. Thanks, Vickers.
It's in pleasure.
Cool, man. Good night, guys.
Cheers.